really excited because Deborah Bakti is joining us this morning. Deborah, why don't you say hello to everybody?
Hi, everybody.
Ta-da! I'm going to let Deborah introduce herself in just a moment. But first, for those of you that are new, we have new people joining the Leverage to Scale Facebook community all the time. And I'm so grateful to have you here because this is a safe place where I want business owners to feel free and comfortable and confident in addressing their questions, their challenges, and sharing their wins, because we have those. And sometimes we're so quick to focus on the next thing on our to-do list and not really spend time celebrating the wins that we do have. So that is basically the purpose of the Leverage to Scale group. And I love Tuesday mornings because we have started doing this new thing as of 2020, where we invite one of the community members to come on live and they get to put me in the hot seat. And it is a great place to be. We can literally talk about anything, Deborah. So we could talk about branding, websites, marketing. We could talk about monetization, team leadership, company operations, anything. And if we ever come across an area that is not really something I have experience with, I'll let you know and we'll move forward. But otherwise, it's totally fair game. And I want to give Deborah the opportunity to introduce herself a little bit more fully to you so you get some context. I got the pleasure of meeting Deborah last fall when we went through Heroic Public Speaking together. And I, not as a plug, but like I am super proud of the fact that we were able to redesign and launch her website literally within the past week. And it's gorgeous. And I'm really, really proud of the work that she put into it. So thank you for that, Deborah. So I'm going to show off that website while you take a couple minutes just to share more background about what you do.
Okay. So hi, everybody. My name's Deborah Bakti, and I launched my business 2 years ago after a long, successful 11-year career in seniors care as an executive. And I had a personal journey with my husband who got sick and ended up becoming a resident in long-term care, as well as a client of home care and community care. And my mom and my dad, who both journeyed that path. So I decided that I wanted to, in essence, retire from my corporate job and start my own business and really focus on helping seniors care organizations to build strong, healthy relationships with their residents' families. Because in the world of seniors care, that relationship is really key. My background, I've got executive leadership, management, certified coach, practitioner in positive psychology. So I bring all of those skill sets with me, and my business is really based around consulting, helping organizations to redesign their admissions experience and build those relationships, as well as keynote speeches, workshops. And I wrote my first book last year called Recipe for Empathy, and that's 6 strategies to transform families into fans in seniors care. So I'm really niche focused in the seniors care market.
Wow. Okay. I have to give you serious props right now because that was so good how you just presented yourself to the world. Well done. Seriously. It's like you might have like rehearsed that a couple of times. But for those of you watching, I want to make a big deal out of that because sometimes when we are introducing ourselves, we fumble through it a little bit. And it's different every single time, but you can always tell a professional when it feels like she knows who she is. She knows how to present herself. This is something that you can write out and even rehearse so that the next time you're introduced on a podcast episode or in an environment like this, you are very comprehensive, you're to the point, you move through it. So really good job, Deborah.
Thanks.
All right. So now we're in the hot seat and we have about another 20 or so minutes.
Okay.
What on earth do you want to talk about today?
Well, there are 2 things that I want to talk about. So we'll start with the first is, as you know, my website just went live on Friday. I now have I think a pretty compelling and great opt-in. First time I've had a real live opt-in.
It is. I have to interrupt you because I have personally taken it. I've gone through, I've watched her video. It's phenomenal. And even, I mean, I think anybody in any industry would actually get a lot of good value out of it. So you can go to deborahbakti.com, opt in for it, take a look at it. I think you'll be pleased. You could even model something similar for yourself. Okay, go ahead, Deborah.
Right. Yeah. So now I want to be promoting my website and inviting people to subscribe, because then I'll want to start that conversation going. And right now I think I've got 30 subscribers on my website.
Better than zero.
Exactly. So I'd like to be able to build that, and what are the ways of doing it, and just getting the word out that I've got a new website, other than just saying to people, I've got a new website.
Okay. So a few things there. Optin, new website. I have several ideas for you actually when you say that. So let's zero in on the opt-in offer for a moment. I have found that one of the best ways to get new subscribers is actually to be interviewed on podcasts. It's such a good way. It's an easy way to grow your following and get new email subscribers. You can have a member of your team go out and start searching for podcasts that address the target market that you want to serve, that are in your industry or related industries, because sometimes we can get a little creative on the industry that we approach. Then literally just doing some outreach. I usually ask somebody on my team to do just a couple of minutes. Like if we're looking at John's podcast and I'm trying to think, like, quick scan, what are some bridges? What are some connections that I have to John or his topic? What do I like about what he's doing? Then team member can do outreach to John and say, hey, I have this, woman, Deborah, here's what she does. I think she would be great for these reasons. Would you like to invite her on board? I go into that level of detail because when you start approaching higher level podcasts, they're very competitive. So if your competitive advantage is going to be finding those connection points, because it will set you apart from everybody else that's just trying to get on the same podcast. Then when you're on the podcast, use your brilliant speaker skills to rehearse a couple of bits, a couple of teaching points, find ways to weave into the conversation, even some of the nuggets that you talk about in your opt-in, to kind of warm the audience up to those ideas without giving away the whole farm. And then usually at the end, a podcast host is going to say, so where can people find out about you? Boom. It's like, oh, well, actually, go to deborahbakti.com and you'll find I have this complimentary 20-minute, I think it's 20 minutes if I remember correctly, maybe a little less, video training. Here's what we talk about, complimentary PDF. Here's why I think it would be of great value to you. Reach out anytime. So you're just kind of weaving it in there, and the podcast host should just offer that direct link and call to action in the show notes. And that's an easy way for you just to show up and get value, get more email subscribers, but you're also leveraging that whole community back into your social media and into everything else that you're doing. So that's one thing. The second thing is, of course, as you are implementing your content marketing strategy, then you want to regularly promote your opt-in offer there too. Even if once a week you do like a little profile feature on the opt-in itself. And the way that you do that can always change a little bit. Like, Deborah, you might have a quick 1-minute video that you create that's like, hey, did you know this is for a free resource on my website? And that's something that Taylor or somebody else on your team can put out into your social media, even if you're only promoting that promo video once a month. And then the next week you have, like, you lead with a quote from your opt-in offer, and then like a couple of value tips. And to get the full training, go here and download blah, blah, blah. And then maybe the next week you do a graphic, and maybe on the graphic there's, something different. So you can get creative in the ways that you're promoting, but once a week I would do a profile feature. The other thing that comes to mind, and then we'll move forward, is when you're sending out a weekly email to those 30 and growing subscribers.
Yeah.
I do think that you can have calls to action in there that say, hey, I'm really trying to get the word out about this free training video. Do you know anybody that would value from it? Would you mind sharing it on your social profile? Because I'm really trying to correct some of the things happening in this industry and I can't do it alone. And it is amazing when you actually ask for help, how people show up for you. So those are some ideas to just keep trying to get the word out there about it. But really, it's just, you got to be repetitive about it. You're going to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm promoting it too much. The rest of the world is going to be like, wait, huh? I didn't even know she had this Optin offer. So that's part A to your question. And part B was, I have this new website. What do we do about it now? I remember when I launched ambervilhauer.com, I know that feeling so well. In fact, I still go there most days, and I'll just go there, click to it and look at it really quick, and then I'll exit back out because I feel joyful. It was a lot of work that went into building that website. And so I'm proud of it. I want to get the word out about it. What I did though, is I actually did a live stream with sometime within the week. I don't think it was the day of, but when things settled down a bit and I had the opportunity, I did a live stream, and I think it was probably 15 or 20 minutes. And I just said, hey friends, I've been working really hard on a project for the past many weeks, and I wanted to share it with you. I wanted to invite you to celebrate with me. This was a big milestone in my company, and I feel like I have something that really reflects who I am and my brand. So I want to walk you through it. Like, here's the homepage. You'll see this is who I am and what I do. And then we click over to the program page, and I have this opt-in offer, and here's my speaking. If you know anybody that is looking for a speaker in this topic, and then I have this book, and here's what it's about. And you're basically sort of reintroducing yourself to the world, and allowing them to celebrate with you. So throughout, you could be asking people, hey, what do you love about the website? Comment below. Do you have any suggestions? Comment below, and you can kind of stir up some engagement that way. But I would do a live stream. You could even take the replay of that and send it out to your 30 subscribers, which, by the way, 30 might seem like a small number, but honestly, like 30 people sitting in front of you at a conference, that's not nothing. Like, I celebrate 30. The list is, I don't know, bigger isn't always better anyway. So anyway, I would share that with them and invite them to celebrate as well. I personally don't do a whole lot more than that, Deborah, but what I do is make sure that I have weekly content marketing in place. So we talked about leverage to scale. If you're doing a weekly video, that's a perfect excuse to get people back to the website every single week. And just remember to keep inviting people to spread the word about what you're doing with you, right? You're not alone in this journey. And just in the people that you know alone, you could absolutely get more bulk book sales. You could absolutely get more keynote speeches and more programs sold. So those are a few things that come to mind so far. Was that helpful for you?
Yeah, really helpful. Yeah.
Okay. What's the thing that stood out that you hadn't really considered or that you definitely want to do?
Well, I think it's I've been thinking about, and I've already created the email, like there's 6 emails that I've got that can go out after to my subscriber list, but I hadn't really thought about the weekly specific to the opt-in. So taking that quote or that reference or that question, do you want to decrease the drama in your home with families? Well, check this out. So I think that's a great idea, and that's what I'll do.
Yep. I want to plant one more seed and we'll move on to your other question. About once every 4 to 6 months, survey your platform in social media and your email list every 4 to 6 months for the rest of time. And ask them, what are the burning questions on their mind? What are they thinking about right now? What do they want more of? What solutions are they searching for? Because as you evolve in this business, your message evolves, your platform is changing and evolving too. And when you have regular heartbeat on what the people are wanting that are coming in, you will likely redo your opt-in offer once or twice a year. And that's okay. And it's not a bad thing to have a resources page of all your different opt-in offers over time. So I just wanted to throw that out and plant the seed.
Okay, great. So a separate page for as I get building those. Okay.
Yep.
The second question is around, I'm working on a script to do a 30-minute webinar. So I have a client that wants to partner with me that we can make this webinar available to all of their clients. So that can be customized for them, but as well, I could also have the webinar non-specific to that client on my website as well. But I've never done a webinar. And so that's kind of a bigger question, I suppose. Like, I don't know, platform, technology, recording, like how to do all of that. And I want to have this done within the month.
You got this. I know your bandwidth is big, right? We all give ourselves a hard time. I know that I do, but when I look back, like, you accomplish a ton. So you've got this. That's a good question. And I love talking about webinars because it's one of the things that I've always been the best at, actually. So my history with webinars is deep. I mean, I think my first webinar was minimum 10 years ago. And my highest converting webinar, I got a 74% close on a high ticket offer. And I regularly get about 40 to 50% to show live. So in contrast, most people are getting like 30% show up rate live and maybe a 30%, maybe 40% close. And especially the higher ticket, meaning the more expensive your offer, the lower your percentages usually are. So
sorry, I just want to interject with that. My thinking is to have it recorded, and this is going to be a free webinar because I want it to be a pathway to the consulting.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so at the end of your webinar, what are you thinking? Are you going to have people apply to have a call with you, or what do you think that next step is going to be?
Possibly that, I think a call versus checking out my consulting page would make sense, right? To have a conversation. Yeah.
Every time. Yeah. Okay. This is good. So we have to kind of start with the end in mind when we're dealing with a webinar. So I definitely think that inviting people to a call is going to get you a better outcome than just go to my website, because then people get distracted and lost and then they fizzle out. Right. So what would be good is if we could develop a singular page that you direct people to at the end of the webinar. And what could happen, Deborah, is you could change this page for each industry that you go after with this webinar, or you could have one page for everybody. That's kind of up to you. I think if it were me, I would probably do an individual page, just duplicate it, a different page for each community that I'm giving this to. But then it would say like some sort of headline that reminds people like you're in the right place. This is the purpose of this page. Thank you for attending my webinar. Encourage you to fill out the form below because this is the first of 2 steps to book a call and explore how we might work together. So I might put like step 1 of 2, fill out the form below. Form has 7 questions or less. Whatever pre-qualifying questions you might want to give to make sure that this is a good use of your time. If somebody fills out the form and then you get the form and you see, oh, they're not qualified, I don't want to have a call with this person for whatever reason, then what could happen is you could either have the call anyway, give the call to a team member, or you could say, you know what, actually, based on what you submitted in the form, I actually have this training video that I created that I think would be of great value for you. And this would be a good first step. Mm-hmm. And then if you are interested in consulting, here's the range of my fees and what it would look like. And if you are interested and that's something that you're looking for, then we can move forward into scheduling a call at that time. So I just might make sure that my fees are up front, my process is up front. And then if they say, yes, I still want to book a call, then okay, great, let's do it. So that gives you some pathways on the back end of how to facilitate that. But then stepping forward, you've got this 1-page form that people are filling out that kind of gives you a sense of their background and who they are and how you might be able to serve them. And then taking a step back from that, we actually have the webinar itself. I love that you said the webinar is going to be around 30 minutes. I'll give you a tip that I had to learn the very, very, very hard way. I've learned a lot of things the hard way in my career. So you have to first look at who your audience is. In my world, if I were doing a webinar for somebody that was like startup entrepreneur and I was trying to teach them about online marketing, then my webinar is definitely more how-to focused and it's going to be a lot longer. So my webinars in the past have been 60 to 90 minutes for a brand new audience where I'm like really having to build their thinking and teach them how to do things. Whereas if my audience is instead a lot more savvy and they don't have as much time, they don't have as much patience, like they already know how things work, then I would do a shorter webinar that's more like, I know you know these things. Here are a couple of good reminders. Here's how I'm different and why you need to pay attention to that. And it's more, Deborah, of like developing their thought leadership in a way. helping them to understand how to think about their problems. And then that is going to set you up perfectly for your consulting offer. So excellent job on picking the 30-minute webinar. You don't need to build out something that's really dense with like how to do information, because that defeats the purpose of why they're hiring you. But I had to learn that the hard way, because I thought, well, if I teach you what to do, that brings value, so you'll want to hire me, right? Anyway, yes, to a degree, but then they couldn't afford my services. And it was the wrong approach for the wrong audience is all. So I would say inside of your 30-minute webinar, the typical format is that you come in and you welcome people and you set the expectation and then you share your story. And then before you know it, 20 minutes has passed and people are like, what's the meat of the webinar? Like, why am I here? So what I always enjoyed doing, and I get good feedback on, is I do say, hi guys, welcome to the webinar. Here's the 1 or 2 liner of what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to give you an immediate nugget right off the bat. And I really encourage you to stay to the end, because I'm going to give you another nugget that's going to blow your mind even more. And in between, I'm going to share my story and, you know, different things to consider in your own world, right? But high level for a minute, when you're welcoming people and you're very warm and then immediately go into some piece of value that they weren't expecting, they're like, whoa, this is going to be good. And it's going to be enough to get them to hang on to the end, because that first 5 minutes, man, people are like, is this worth my time or not? And I love the open loop strategy. You want to stick around to the end, because then I'm going to show not just what to think about, but how you can start to put this in motion. But I can't tell it to you right now, because we have to build on top of it so it makes sense to you at the end. Right. And then the viewer is thinking, okay, that makes sense. So I think it's important that you address why you're waiting on that information, so that they're not thinking that you're just trying to pull one over on them. We live in a time where it's really important to be open and transparent. So I think that sort of a structure in terms of talking is pretty good. Like if you spend 5 minutes in your intro, the meat of your content will be the next 20 minutes and then 10 minutes for the ending. I know you asked about technology, which we'll talk about in just a second, but does that help to have some sort of a sense of what to say and when?
Yeah, because I've already started the script and I'm really talking about 3 myths. So there's 3 different things, and you're absolutely right. This is about thought leadership and how to think about the business differently without giving away the how. But I hadn't a lot to think about what could be one nugget of a how that really gives them that value at the end to want to know more about more hows.
I would say anything that's tied into their biggest burning problem, right? Like, you could even address like, hey, I know that most people's burning question at this point is blah, blah, blah. Here's a way I want you to think about it. And at the end, I'm going to teach you possibly a different way to think about it, or a way to implement it starting today, because it's really important to me that you get immediate value out of this time together. Right. I know your time is precious. I value that. I'm going to make this worth your while. So it's almost something like that. So I don't know, you could even, when you start to duplicate this model, you could even ask the client if they're willing to send out like a quick pre-survey that asks like, what's your number 1 most burning question when it comes to blank? See if you can get a couple of responses, because then you could customize just the beginning of each webinar for each audience. Okay. That is going the extra mile, but you know what? It'll be worth it in the end, because you'll get a better conversion, because they'll feel like you're speaking directly to them, and you are, because you did the survey in advance. If they're not willing to do the survey, just ask the client what they speculate is the answer. So that's one approach to try. Okay. Any other questions about that before we address technology? Okay. So traditionally, a live webinar is going to yield you a better outcome in the end, just so we're all aware of it. And part of this is me trying to give information that everybody will be able to, you know, get value from, that's watching this live hot seat right now. But if you have the opportunity to do a live webinar, you will get better results than if you do a replay or an evergreen. A lot of people are interested in listening to replays these days because we're all so busy, right? And usually on a replay, I can listen to it on a double speed, which is really appealing. And I can listen to it Tuesday at midnight if I want to. You'll still get a better outcome if it's a live webinar. So just file away that, note that for future product launches and so forth. But I have done evergreen webinars before as well. Personally, the software that I've always gravitated toward is Webinar Jam. And their sister product is Everwebinar. So Webinar Jam is the software that's going to power a live webinar to your audience. So they can do the opt-in page, the email reminders. You'll go live using Webinar Jam. You can do like polls and calls to action. They have all kinds of goody little options inside of there. And then they can send out like a post-webinar replay email to your audience. So it's kind of like a comprehensive package. And you can do as many live webinars as you want using that package. And then once you have a webinar that's solid and you want to record it once to then do Evergreen, then you'll get Everwebinar, which is their sister product. And basically same thing, you upload the video file and then you can select, you have the opt-in page, and then you can select what times you want people to sign up for your live webinar that's actually a replay. So now we kind of hit an integrity question. When I did it, I didn't want to say this was a live webinar that really actually wasn't live. Even though I knew that I would get a better outcome if they thought it was live. But for me, it posed an integrity question. So you have to follow you, meaning that on the opt-in page, you could say, sign up to view this webinar, but I'm not saying this live webinar, right?
Right.
And so you do you, but that's just something that if you do your research in the online marketing world, a lot of conversion experts would tell you to put join my live webinar on the landing page, and you've got to follow your instincts on that. Then inside of Everwebinar, you can pick the 3 times. I recommend three options that you give to people. One is like a day from now. One can be 2 or 3 days from now. And then one option is watch the replay that's available right now. It'll make sense. You have the recording. It'll make sense if you decide to go with that software when you're setting up the options. But I have found that to convert the best, to give them those 3 choices. Then people opt in for the webinar and they're going to get the access link. And what's cool about Everwebinar is that you can set it up to feel like a live experience, even though it's not. You can actually precede in a rolling stream of comments from your viewers, right? Look, so I, as the webinar, on the recording, I could say, hey guys, welcome to the webinar replay. Go ahead and tell me, where are you coming in from? Then Deborah can precede in Bob saying, oh, I'm here from Ohio, and Jill saying, I'm here from Florida. And then all of a sudden, your new viewer is going to see this rolling thread of comments coming in, which will get them more excited to comment too. So anyway, you'll just have to go in. The first time that I went into Everwebinar, it was like, whoa, there are a lot of options here. But the good news is that there are really good video tutorials and instructions that teach you what this is and why it matters. And just know you can always ask me, because I have a lot of experience in this area, but you don't have to utilize all of the options that they give you. Just go through page by page, setting by setting, set it up in its most basic form to begin with. And then once you get more comfortable, you can go back and see, well, what else could I do? And never be afraid to contact support and ask them for some direct support as well. Like, what does this mean? And what's the best practice? Because that's an easy way to get a lot of good free advice too. So Webinar Jam and Everwebinar both can integrate with any email management system like ActiveCampaign or MailChimp. So you're good there in terms of list building. And then it just becomes a matter of putting your opt-in page out to the world and telling people to come sign up. Once you've tested the results and you feel like it's optimized, you could always drive Facebook ads into it and scale this thing even faster. But the last thing that I'll say is that when you go out to pursue something, a project like this, patience is important. And just allowing yourself to start at the bottom, knowing that over time you're going to learn and improve and learn and improve. And if you just allow yourself to experience the journey of it, you will reduce your frustration, and you won't be disappointed by early results or anything. You'll just be in it to win it.
Okay.
So I know that was a lot. Was that helpful?
Really helpful. Yeah. Because I think I hadn't thought about the landing page, and then my client, they're going to be reaching out to their customers and they would have the link to my website landing page, right? Versus them. Yeah. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's all contained. You own it. You operate it. And you can give them early access to like Optin and watch your webinar in advance so that they feel comfortable putting this out to their client base. Anything like that, you can make any tweaks to it. But it's, once you've done it once, you're like, oh, this isn't so bad. This is kind of easy. And then you can just do it a bunch of times. It's no different than video or live streaming or anything else, right? You just kind of got to get into it. And you know that you have me in your back pocket. So anytime that you need me, just knock my door and I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Amber. This has been awesome. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's been great info.
Good. Well, I know we ran a little bit over. I'm sorry if you have another call right now. What's your favorite takeaway or aha or thing that worked for you? What's the one thing that made you glad to come today?
Well, I'm going to say two, because the weekly email building off of the opt-in, I think I know I can do that. It's simple enough and still provides great value, because I really do believe that this is great value for my clients. And the setting up the separate landing page for the webinar.
Cool.
Really
awesome. Well, you're the best, Deborah. Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed this. And everybody else, I hope you have a beautiful day. Let us know what aha came up for you in the live stream by commenting below. That would really help me out to get a sense of what got you excited in this process. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.